Yeah.
Since Friday. Crazy.
Yeah. Voor Shalema.
Yeah, right.
But it won't be a video. It won't be.
I'm just doing the.
Normally, if you have someone to buy a smartphone, that'd be brilliant.
Ben, what's on the table? What's on the menu today? Let's have a.
The very, very last of the Shlachmonos.
Oh, you're doing a mitzvah. It's good to see you. 2 in 1.
Listen, you've got to do both. Shlachmonos.
And beer chametz.
2 types of food, no?
What is that? Jellies.
Sour jellies.
Oh, that's good.
And then some of these.
He meant what's on the
About
drinks
a 6 out of 10. These.
He meant a drinks menu.
The drinks menu, yeah, I've got that as well.
Whiskey.
No whiskey now. I've finished all my open bottles.
Nine.
Got a tiny bit left for Shabbos. That's it.
I wish I could say that. I am finishing my starter bottles.
I purposely haven't opened any bottles for a few weeks.
I'd need a lot more than one Shabbos.
We can help you if you're out.
Sure you can. Never underestimated you.
Thanks.
You should mute before you do that. We'll capture the virus.
Purposely kept it on. Right over the How are we all doing?
Oh, Hashem. How's it going over there?
That's what I got.
What have you got? Oh, they're good.
You recognize them?
Yeah, they're good, those. I would do a swap with you, but
What have you got?
I've got 6 out of 10.
That's Mishlach
7.5.
You haven't been
7.5
nicking
out
it.
of 10.
That's your kid's Mishlach Monos, isn't it?
Absolutely. Get him in. Pesach coming up. There's a reason why Purim is so close to Pesach.
You can sell, by the way.
No, I've got to finish sweets.
If you can eat and you can sell, you better eat, right?
Yehuda, you're looking far too casual in a vest. Can you please get dressed properly?
Have you got LED lights?
I just got yes. I just got out of bed. Sorry.
So what? To put a shirt on? What do you think this is? Gym? Exercise?
At least you can't see below the table, so you're all right.
Yeah, you're dressed for the waist up, aren't you?
Thank the Lord for that.
Oh dear.
Yeah, will you be giving haircuts over Zoom?
You tell me how to do that, I'll do it.
He needs 2 meter long brooms, and then you can stand in the back of the room and attach the clippers to the end.
It's been done in China.
You should be able to claim government compensation because your main business is this time of the year. No?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm waiting for my accountant to confirm everything.
Oh, Yechiel, you need a new accountant.
Yeah, Ben. Yeah, it takes time. It takes time to.
The accountant should have come to you.
It takes time for all the guidelines to become clear.
It's cooking stuff.
Yeah, it's not up and running yet.
It's what?
It's not up and running yet, the scheme.
1st of April.
No, it'll be way after that.
They said no, you can start applying from the 1st of April for
They'll
long.
write to you from the 1st of April.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll
Yeah,
write to you.
the employed. The employed is 1st of April.
Oh yeah, no, that's the employees. Self-employed people is later.
Yeah.
Gaddy Rose.
No.
Yeah, time will tell. Time will tell. To wait.
Okay, it's 8 o'clock. Let's. At least today the Zoom obliged itself to work properly. Baruch Hashem. Just a very, very quick vote. There's a famous question that Vanessa asked the question that if you work it out, Yocheved was 130 years old when Moshe Rabbeinu was born, because 210 years in Mitzrayim, she was born when he came into Mitzrayim. So she was 130. So Vanessa asked the question that we make such a big fuss out of Sarah Menu being 90. And here Yechevet 130, which is much, much older. So there's an answer from the Duvna Maggid. The Duvna Maggid says as follows. He, like with all his answers, he likes to start off with a mashal. There were two people that went to a certain town, both collecting. And they came back. One came back and said, "Oh, terrible town. Nobody opened the door for me, didn't get a penny." And the other one said, "What do you mean? Everybody was just throwing money at me." Eventually, they worked out, they compared notes. One was went around on Purim time, and everybody's the other one was going, I don't know, in the middle of the summer holidays, everybody's preoccupied with other things. When everybody's giving money, it's easy to get some. But when it's a difficult time, you can't get it. Says it of the Maggid. In Mitzrayim, Hashem was doing nest after nest after nest. They had 6 babies born in one go, etc. So therefore, the fact that Yechevet was able to have a baby at the old age wasn't such a miracle. It's obvious it was standard of life. But Solomon happened in a vacuum, and that's much, much, much greater. And what's the message? The message is as follows, is that Pesach time is a time when HaKadosh, so to speak, has got an open check, open time. He's ready to give anybody whatever they need. So then, a miracle like having a baby at the age of 130 is not such a special thing. And obviously all miracles with it, because it's a time when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is being mashpia, nisim, and Yeshua, and Hatzlochas, etc. So it's a true moment to grab as much as you can. When a person, for example, let's say, does need to go collecting. So if he doesn't go collecting on Purim time, he's silly, because that's the best time of the year. That's the time when people are giving out the money. Now, shaking it, other times of the year, you can say to yourself, look, you can't be bothered, it's not necessary. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Nissen time, Pesach time, is giving out Nissen all the time. If a person doesn't have a line then, his mamish losing out. We should be zecher to see Nissen when it flows this Pesach. Going back to our sugi, which goes on, I didn't realize even longer than I expected, because the next future Gemara always comes back to it a little bit. So I'm going to try and summarize a little bit. It isn't an easy Gemara. It's a cheshbon Gemara, and everybody's on Zoom, which got all the, and it's not the same as. So you try your best. HaKadosh Baruch Hu pays according to the tircha, not according to the success. We know that there are different sized begodim. There are begodim which are 3 tvachim by 3 tvachim, and there are begodim which are sholish al sholish. Sholish al sholish 3 boys, sholish al sholish are 3 tvachim. 3 tvachim begodim are used by the wealthy and the poor, and 3 boys are only used by the poor. We know there are different materials. When it comes to tzoras, the Torah says tzemel pishtim, and therefore by tzoras we know only tzemel pishtim. As we said this a few times yesterday, if a person has a silk cloak and he gets tzoras on it, what's the halacha? It's torn, because tzoras is only by wool and linen, nothing else. We had a Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel that came along and said that we've got what's called a mamotzinu. Some people call it a binyanav. It's very important to get used to the ideas of mamotzinu and binyanav, because they come up a very lot, especially in culture. And what's a mamotzinu? Mamotzinu is the logic is as follows. The Torah says the word beged, clothes, by tzoras, and it means which kind of clothes? Wool and linen. Only wool and linen. So whenever the Torah says the word beged, it means wool and linen. Therefore, according to Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel, if you've got a sheretz, which becomes touched as a silk clothes, also will become tummy. Mamotzinu from tzoras. The Gemara at the end of yesterday asked the kasha that there's another Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel. The Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel says regarding shrotzim that all clothes made out of wool, made out of silk, made out of hair of izim, of goats, all of it becomes tummy. So we asked, there's a contradiction between one Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel and another Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel, which is the Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel on top of Chav base, and I told you Rabbi Shmuel, which is in the middle of Chav Zayin and Aleph. And the Gemara answered, Abai, what did Abai say? Anybody remember offhand what Abai said? Abai indeed said it's a machloikas. It's a machloikas what Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel holds. Rava came along and said, no, it's not a machloikas. This one over here, Chav Zayin and Aleph, says that it's Tomei, is talking about where it's 3 tvachim by 3 tvachim. The one earlier which says it's not Tomei, it's all about 3 boys by 3 boys. And the Gemara asks a kasha that one was contradicting himself, and the Gemara says Rava was choisa. Now the Gemara says like this. V'ibois ema. This is where we're up to Chav Zayin and Mudalef, about 10 lines from the bottom. V'ibois ema ho v'papa omo. This answer, the difference between three boys. Sorry, not this answer. This dichui. This answer is what Papa said it. Why? V'papa oma, dera papa oma. Af kol la'asuye kilai. Meaning as follows. If you remember, Rabbi Shmuel said as follows. Since the Torah said beged by tzoras, and when the Torah said beged by tzoras, afterwards it specifies which kind of beged are we talking about, wool and linen. So therefore, af kol, also everywhere when the Torah says the word beged, it means wool and linen. Af kol, also all places where it says the word beged, it means wool and linen. Says Rav Papa, when it says af kol, also everywhere, what does it mean everywhere? It means also kilayim. That issa wearing wool and linen is only by wool and linen. So Papa, Oma af kol asu kilayim. Feit the Gemara kilayim bedik sivibe. Then the Torah says specifically, lo yisul ba'ashat l'stem u'pishtim yachtav. Don't wear a mixture of wool and linen. Shadas or seven pishtim together. That means, if the Torah says the word beged and doesn't explain which kind of beged, then you need a mamot sinu. You need to learn it out from tzoras. But by kilayim, the Torah specifically says the word tzemer pishtim. Since the Torah says specifically wool and linen, you don't need to learn it out from mamot sinu from tzoras. It's obvious the Torah is talking about only wool and linen. So the Gemara says that, where was it? You might have thought that when the Torah says don't wear wool and linen, that's talking about wearing it. But just putting it on you, covering yourself. Let's say just putting a draping on yourself, putting on top of yourself. Every kind of clothing, any two mixtures, for example, silk and hair and wool of hair of a deer, of a goat. Says the Kavachima is not a Kavachima. If getting dressed, the whole body is getting pleasure. Almost you said only one and linen, everything else is mutter. Hello, is Allah not even more so that only one and linen? Hello, the Papa Batusi, but Papa is a mistake. The Gemara says what Papa said is not true. Again, the Torah says by tzoras beged, and then explains when I say beged, what do I mean? I mean wool and linen. The Brisa comes along and says af kol, also everywhere else we mean wool and linen. Said Rav Papa, what does it mean also everywhere else? We mean by kilayim. Says, well, that's not true. Because by kilayim, you don't need to come onto a binyan av to tell me that just like by tzoras, it means semel pishtim, also over here means semel pishtim. The way I know that it's only semel pishtim is simply because the Torah specifically says semel pishtim, and I don't need to come onto a binyan av at all. So our papa is a mistake. Af kol, the bottom of Zayin, the top of Zayin with base, that's suye tzitzis. That means the Torah says by tzoras, beged, and then it says semel pishtim. Af kol, also all places. What's all places? All places means tzitzis. That when the Torah says that you should put tzitzis, you should put strings on your beged, you might have thought all begodim. Let's say you're wearing silk, you should also have to. Komash malon. No, we learn that from tzoras. So just like the Torah says the word beged by tzoras, and which beged are we talking about? Only wool and linen. Yes. So also the Torah says put tzitzis on your beged, only wool and linen. So tzitzis behedik. The Torah says clearly. How does the Torah say clearly? Because the Torah says like this: don't wear shatnas. Semel pishtim. Uksiv, and the pasuk then continues. The next pasuk immediately after, Gedinim ta'aselecho. Uksiv gedinim ta'aselecho. You should make tzitzis. The fact that the Torah puts the mitzvah of tzitzis straight after the mitzvah of not wearing kilayim, from that alone teaches us that the mitzvah of tzitzis only applies to wool and linen, and therefore I don't need to come on to the Torah to be Rabbi Shmuel. That means Talmud Rabbi Shmuel told us a binyan av. What's a binyan av mean? That if the Torah says by netzaras, beged, and then it says it means wool and linen, it means always wool and linen. So the Gemara said, well, what was he talking about? You can't be talking about shrotzim, because by shrotzim, everything becomes stomach, even hair of a goat. Answers the Gemara, when we say afkol, it's referring to tzitzis. For the Gemara, what do you mean? By tzitzis, you don't need a drasha that only wool and linen, because the Torah puts together the mitzvah of kilah and mitzvah of tzitzis to tell you the mitzvah of tzitzis only applies to wool and linen, nothing else. So the Gemara answers, no. You might have thought like Rava. I'll say very briefly. Outside, there was Satan inside. Rava understands when the Torah says wool and linen and then tzitzis, it's not describing the clothes that the tzitzis are made, the beged, but rather the strings that are coming onto the beged. That the Torah is teaching you that when you put chutim, when you put strings on your tzitzis, only use wool and linen and nothing else. And Rava has that difficult because the Torah also says hakonof. The word hakonof is spare. Why? Because the pasuk says, "V'nosnu al tzitzis hakonof psul techeres." It could have just said, "V'nosnu al tzitzis psul techeres." You don't need to say hakonof of the corner, because of course it's on the corner. As he said, "V'osulem tzitzis hakamfei bigdei." So why do you have to say hakonof? From there we learn that whatever you create the beged from, that is what the chutim should be from. Again, we have two separate drashas, Rava says. One drasha tells us hakonof min konof, which means that if you're wearing silk, if you decide to buy yourself silk, let's say, silk beged, what should the strings be made out of? Silk. If you make a beged out of wool, make the strings out of wool. You make your beged out of linen, make the strings out of linen. How do we learn that? Hakonof, the corner, that it has to match the corner. Right? Nowadays, people are very big into matching, right? You want to wear shoes, to match your trousers, to match your hair, but everything has to match. So hakonof means the strings have to match the beged. If your beged made out of silk, make your strings out of silk. That's one drasha, says Rava, hakonof. Another drasha, the Torah says that don't wear kilayim, don't wear shatnas, rather put on tzitzis. And from that we learn that the tzitzis have to be made out of wool and linen. That's the connection, the hekesh, but they're put next to each other. That what material should the strings be made out of, wool and linen? Now that's a contradiction. A second ago you said that the strings should be made out of the same as the beged. And now you say the strings should be made out of wool and linen. That's a contradiction. Answers the Gemara that like this, that if you've got wool and linen, it's good for everything. If you've got silk or other materials, then it has to, if it's got, I like this chat business is like very, anyway. If you put other begodim, if you use wool and linen, then it patters for everything. If you do other materials, it will only patter, will only be good for the material which is matching the beged it is. So, for example, if you've got a silk garment, which strings can you put on? Which strings can you put on a silk garment? Instead, you should put on them chat, that everybody will read it at least. What if you got silk according to Rava? What materials can you make the strings? According to Rava, no.
Silk.
Silk, but what else?
Wool.
Wool and linen.
Wool and linen. Why? Very good. Wool, linen, or silk.
Brushes.
If you've got wool, which materials can you do?
Wool.
Wool and linen.
Wool or linen. Why? Because Hakonof tells me the material that the beged's made out of. The fact that the Torah puts kilayim and tzitzis together tells me it has to be wool and linen. So you've got a choice, either or. Now, according to Rava, is the Torah teaching me anything whatsoever about the material of which the beged of tzitzis? Is the Torah telling me anything about the material of the beged? According to Rava?
No, just about the tzitzis.
Oh, just about the tzitzis, not about the beged at all. Comes along Tana to Rabbi Shmuel and says, you're wrong, Rava. That the Torah says by tzoras, wool and linen, to teach you that only clothes of wool and linen can be used for tzitzis. And if you put silk clothes on, according to Rabbi Shmuel, which tzitzis should you put on?
Potter from tzitzis.
Very good. Who said that? Who said that until?
Shire.
Very good. According to Rabbi Shmuel, if you're wearing a silk, you're not yotza. And that's why when you have these new materials of polyester, the Moshe, according to Rava, is any problem using them for tzitzis? No. According to Rabbi Shmuel, is any problem?
Yes.
Very good. That's the Gemara. The Rava Rami contradicts. Ksiv, we're up to the third line, end of the third line. Hakonof, which we explained, min and konof, it has to match the corner. Uksiv, several pishtim yachtov, it has to be made out of wool and linen. Okay, it's at several pishtim, poitrin, baby minom, and shleim minom. They always work. Wool and linen is like a trump card. It works for everything. Shah minim, everything else, but minin poitron, they work in their own min. For example, in silk, will work for silk. Hair of a goat will work for goat, etc. Shleim minom. If it's the wrong min, let's say you put silk on wool, would that work according to Rava? If you put silk strings on a woolen beggar, would that work? No. They don't pattern. You might have thought Kedarava. Okay, on the wrong min, ain't poitin, they do not pattern. You might have thought like Rava that the Torah teaches about the strings and not about the beggar at all. Says the Gemara, Kamash Malon, no. Kamash Malon, that, not like that. Kamash Malon, therefore, that the whole mitzvah of tzitzis is to tell you that only by wool and linen. Kamash Malon, that the whole mitzvah of tzitzis is only by wool and linen. And if you're wearing silk, you're not being mekayim the mitzvah of tzitzis altogether. Kamash Malon, you're not mekayim the mitzvah. The Talmud of Rabbi Shmuel, according to Rabbi Shmuel, like we understood it according to the last pshat, which is according to Nachman's pshat, which is teaching us that tzitzis only applies to which begodim?
Wool and linen.
And where did they learn it from?
The cafe, it says the second time on the corner.
No, but how do they know that you only have to put tzitzis on wool and linen? You don't have to
from Shatners.
No, not from Shatners.
Samer Pishtim.
Line.
But where does the Torah say Tzemor Pishtim? The answer is the Torah says it by Tzoras. Since the Torah says the word beged by Tzoras, and then it's by Negoim, by Tzoras, the Torah says beged. And there it says wool and linen, so that teaches when the Torah says beged by tzitzis, it also only means wool and linen. So we told Rabbi Shmuel, Ma'ishno linen tumah. Why regarding tumah of shrotzim? The Mabisha begodim, we include other clothes as well. Why? Dichsiv oi beged, because the Torah says the word oi, which is spare. Hochanami, by tzitzis as well. Hoche here, nami as well, by tzitzis. Lema, we should say, Mabisha begodim. That we should name the Mabisha begodim to include all other clothes. How? Ma'asher techasabo. The Torah says, asher techasabo, which is spare. The last of the pasuk is, you should cover yourself. Now, the words which you cover yourself are spare. Why does it need to teach me that? To teach me that whatever garment you cover yourself, whether it's silk, whether it's wool, all these clothes, you have to put on tzitzis. So that teaches you not just wool and linen. So why does Rabbi Shmuel say there's no mitzvah of tzitzis only on wool and linen? Let's learn from Asher Techas, all clothes. Answer one, no. That's going to include a blind person's clothes. The Tanya. Well, long bryce over here. I'll say it outside. Sometimes I say it outside, it's very easy. Torah says, you shall see it. From there you can deduct, you can deduce that one of two clothing, you're not a chayav tzitzis.
Nightwear if you're blind.
Sorry?
Nightwear if you're blind.
Oh, very good. Nightwear or blind. Nightwear is clothes that you don't see, because at night there's no lights. Or blind people's clothes, because they don't see. The Torah says, sorry, uveisam that you can see is to exclude either nightwear or to exclude, is either to exclude nightwear or to exclude a blind man's clothes. Ashatachasabo comes to include. The question is, which one should you include and which one should you exclude? Should you include the blind person's clothes from Ashatachasabo and exclude from Uisam Oisoi nightwear? Or rather, should you include nightwear and exclude a blind person's clothes?
Why can't it be both? Why can't you learn both from the same? You can't learn both from the same.
One is that one's an exclusion, so that you have to be able to see it, otherwise you're potter. And one's an inclusion, anything that you cover yourself with.
Right.
So one includes, one excludes. It's good you ask questions, appreciate it. So again, one includes, one's inclusion, anything you cover, and one is exclusion, only that which you can see. The Gemara says it makes more sense to include a blind person's clothes and exclude the nightwear. Why? Because a blind person's clothes is seen by everybody except for the blind person. Nightwear is never seen because in those days, in the dark, you never saw anything. So therefore, the Torah says Ashetachasabo includes a blind person that he has to put tzitzis on his clothes. And Re'isem is excluding nightwear that you don't put tzitzis on nightwear. So that's what, so we asked the question, Ashetachasabo should include other clothes like silk, etc. Says the Torah, no. Ashetachasabo is coming to include a blind person's clothes. The Tanya Re'isem also to exclude nightwear. You say it's coming to exclude nightwear, or maybe it's only coming to exclude, maybe not, maybe it's coming to exclude a blind person's clothes. That you cover yourself with, that's including a blind person's clothes. That's what the pasuk is speaking about. So what do I do with the pasuk? That you have to see it. What's that pasuk teaching me? What I'm going to do the pasuk that you have to see it. That's coming to exclude nightwear. Says the Gemara. Okay, but it's coming to exclude nightwear. Why do you want to include a blind person and to exclude ksus laila, night clothes? So the Gemara says, I'll include a blind person's clothes because other people can't see it. And I exclude nightwear because nobody sees it, but other people as well, they don't see it. Nobody sees it. Maybe instead of including a blind person's clothes, maybe the Torah is coming to include silk and other kinds of clothes. So what it says, it makes more sense. That the pasuk is talking about wool and linen. How do we know the pasuk is talking about wool and linen? How do we talk about wool and linen? The reason is because the Torah puts together the mitzvah of tzitzis with the mitzvah of kilayim. Just like kilayim is by wool and linen, so the mitzvah of tzitzis by wool and linen. Therefore, was standing by tzemol pishtim is marbe tzemol pishtim. It's marbe another tzemol pishtim of a blind person. Tzemol pishtim. Yes, marbe tzemol pishtim makes inclusive of wool and linen. Tzemol pishtim. If we're standing by wool and linen, would we include other clothes? Of course not. That doesn't make any sense. And therefore, that is the maskana, that other clothes, there's no mitzvah of tzitzis. For example, silk, there's no mitzvah of tzitzis. But a blind person's clothes there is, and that we know from Ashetachasabo. Omar Abai, Shimon ben Elazar was Sumchus Amud Echad. Shimon ben Elazar and Sumchus said a very similar thing. Shimon ben Elazar had the Amon. Shimon ben Elazar, that which we said. Shimon ben Elazar was at the bottom of Daf Chovav Amud Aleph. It's a long way back to yesterday. But if you remember, Shimon ben Elazar said that everything that comes out of a tree will not become tummy, except for pishton. That pishton becomes tummy. Now, he did not use the word beged pishton. He used the word pishton. Now, had he said a beged pishton, that it becomes tummy out of learned clothes made out of flax, out of linen, that becomes tummy. But he didn't say that. He said pishton is mashma, that the flax itself, the linen itself becomes tummy, even if you haven't yet made the clothes out of it. Says Shimon Elazar Damon, which we just said, Sumchus, the Tanya, Sumchus Oim, Sichecha B'Tovui. If a person puts chach out of spun thread, psulo, it's possible. Now, spun thread, will it become tummy? The halacha is you can't use chach, something that's going to become tummy. Would it become tummy if a sheretz touches a thread? It doesn't become tummy. Very good. How do we know? Because the Torah says by sheretz it has to be a beged. So why can't I use? Why is it psula? Why can't I use a spun thread? It becomes tummy in soras, and he's not talking about clothes. He's talking only about spun thread, and that's the same as the Shimon Elazar that said that pishton is metame even before it's beged.
How would you get saras on a string? Like, it doesn't have to be a certain size.
It's a good question. I was wondering myself, I'm not really talking about it, but it can be a very long string, and the halacha is the size. It can be over the whole thing. It's interesting. How would you
The
get
surface area can be big enough if it's long enough.
Yeah, but they must have had thicker threads than us. Must have had much thicker threads.
You mean like shipping thread, like the rope? You mean, or
Yeah,
was the
something
rope
like
included?
that. Yeah, that's a good point. So what says command? Who does this go like? That says that even if something is spun and it's not yet a close, it is Tommy. Kihaitana the Tanan. We learned in the Mishnah Shesi ve'erev metame or metamin benegoim. Metame benegoim they become Tommy benegoim miyad immediately. That means even though it hasn't yet been colored, it hasn't yet done anything. All you've done is you just got the threads of Shesi ve'erev. It's metame miyad divrei metame benegoim miyad divrei, and therefore that is what's going like. Rab Yehuda Hashesi mishiyashle. They would cook these strings, and afterwards they'd have to fish them out of the pot. They would cook it in order to make it whiter. So once you've cooked it, then it's betame. Vo'erev, the thread that goes back and forth. Hashesi mishiyashle, that's the clothes which is attached to the warp, I think it's called. So only mishiyashle once it's cooked. Vo'erev, the thread that goes back and forth, miyad becomes tummy immediately. And the bundles of flax, mishiyislabnu, once they get white. How do they translate article v'unin shel pishton? Bundles of flax. How do they translate it? Anybody got to ask?
Bundles
Bundles
of unspun flax.
Bundles of unspun flax. V'unin shel pishton. Bundles of unspun flax. Mishiyislabnu, once they get white through the oven. They would white them in the oven. Bleached. Okay, bleached and white is the same thing. Oh, he's got pictures there. Can you see pictures? Oh, that's how they put them in the oven and put them in the heat would get them whitened, Rashi says. Okay. So the bundles of unspun flax, once they get white, so we see anyway, you see from Rameya, what's Rameya hold? That's the time of going miyat. Even as soon as it's spun, that's like Shittas Sumchus and like Shittas. And that's like Sumchus that said that if you use thread, so not unspun, it has to be spun. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said not spun. We're talking about the thread, sorry, that has been spun. It just hasn't been woven. If it hasn't been spun at all, it's not even considered a thread. A thread which has just been spun and no more, that itself is already become tummy. That's what he said. Immediately as soon as it's a thread, once you cook it, once it's a thread, once they have become white or bleached. We're carrying on with this halachas of clothes. Anything that comes out of a tree, you're not allowed to use it as a wick. Except for flax. Well, did they translate as flax or linen? Sorry to... Flax. Okay. So the point is like this. You're not allowed to use anything that comes out of a tree except for flax. Rashi says, what grows on a tree? Can you give me an example of threads that grow on a tree?
Cotton.
Cotton wool. That's what Rashi says, cotton wool. Tosis gets very upset with Rashi. Could anybody suggest why?
Cotton, not a tree. The bush, really.
Okay, you're right, it's a bush. That's a good question, it's a bush.
We already
That
said
wouldn't upset
Shesi
this.
Be'erev.
What?
We already said Shesi Be'erev.
No, Shesvel was going to be tumor. Here we're talking about which wicks we're going to be using for our Friday night candles. You're all thinking
The
too
cotton that comes off the tree is not a thread.
No.
It has to be made into a
No,
thread.
he said, Chaim almost said that the problem is it's not a tree, it's a bush. I was thought you'd ask a better question, all of that. Which wicks do you use on Hanukkah? What are the best wicks? Cotton wool. So why would you say, Mishnah say, don't use cotton wool? Teresa says it means the fabric, when you peel the bark of a tree, there's always like a woolly substance around. That is what we're talking about. But from more cotton wool would be good. So again, anything goes from a tree and I think about a piston except for flax. Anything that comes out of a tree, doesn't get tumor over oil. Elo piston except for piston. This is, you need to get clear. That you get to be rattling it off every Friday night. It's nice to have a little clear. The halacha is that if there's a dead person in the room, everything in the room becomes tummy. That's called tumas oil. Yeah, is that clear? Tumas oil. Anything that's in the room is tummy. If this glass cup is in the room, tummy. My jacket becomes tummy. Everything in the room becomes tummy if there's a dead person in the room. The question is, does the room itself become tummy? Let's say, for example, you've got a tent and a dead person in the tent. Do you now need to tovel the tent? Now, this is what the Mishnah is talking about. The Mishnah is not talking about the things inside the tent. Rashi has a great pains to tell us that's not what the Mishnah is talking about. Because that is obviously, clearly, everything will become tummy. The question is, will it become tummy? And this, the Mishnah tells us, will not become tumas oil, elo pishton, except if it's made out of flax. So, if you've got a tent made out of cotton wool, according to Rashi, right, cotton, and a dead person goes inside it, will the tent need to become toveled according to Rashi?
No.
No. Very good. If the tent is made out of flax, will it need to be toveled?
Yes.
Now, what happens if it's made out of cotton wool? And not the tent, but other things inside the tent. But the tent's only made out of cotton wool. And you've got, let's say, a wooden cup inside the tent. Will that wooden cup become tummy?
Yes. It's only the tent Rashi's talking.
Very good. It's only the tent we're discussing. So that's the halachas. That's the halacha we say every night, Friday night at top speed. Now, the problem is that most people, if you'd ask them, is flax called a wood or a bush, they would say to you, it's not a tree. So it says the Gemara, we know the pishton it creates. How do you know it's called a tree? The Mishnah has to tell you everything that comes from a tree, you can't lie to it, except for pishton, which you can. But pishton is not a tree. It's still a rochav that she hid the meraglim. She put them on the roof, and she hid them in the flax trees. So from there we see that pishton is called eitz. And therefore, since it's called eitz, therefore, when the Mishnah has to tell us that pishton doesn't have the nun halachos of eitz. Anything which comes from a tree does not become tomei, tumas oyale, meaning that the tent itself becomes tomei. Elo pishton, except for pishton. Minon, how do we know this? Omar Abalaza, Gama oil mimishkon, top of Chavches Mudaf. Ksivacha. It says over here. That means we know Shav oil mimishkon. Ksivacha. It says over here by the parsha of Tumas oil, which is in which parsha, by the way? Where would I look up Tumas oil? No, Chukas, beginning of Chukas. That's the whole parsha, Po'aduma. That's what we learned 2 or 3 weeks ago, when there was still such a thing as a minyan, and still such a thing as going to shul. And we were learning Parshas Po in order that we should be ready, beginning of Chukas, for Mashiach to come, and we should all be Torah. So, if a person dies in the tent becomes tummy and everything inside it. And he spread the tent on the Mishkan. He spread the tent on the Mishkan. Just like the shel pishton. It's made out of flax or linen, kori oil, and it's called a tent. Afkan also over here shall pishton. Malan shall pishton kol oil. Pishton's called oil. Afkan shall pishton kol oil. Also pishton's called oil. So just like there, shalom pishton kol oil. Afkan shall pishton kol oil. It's called oil. So therefore, what do we learn from here? Like this, that when the Torah says that if a person dies, the tent becomes tummy, you're going to ask me, but which kind of tent do we talk about? What's it made out of? Silk, cotton wool, leather, skins. So I'll tell you. That the Torah, when it talks about the tent of the Mishkan, it describes pishton as oil. So therefore, here's what it is oil. Now, what was the Mishkan made out of? What was the materials which the Mishkan was made out of? Anybody remember offhand? Well, okay, let's ask differently.
Linen.
Pishton's one of them. That's the Gemara just says. Pishton koil, it's called oil. Afkan pishton koil, the pishton's called oil. Just like that, pishton's called oil.
Like 3 layers.
Oil is called oil. What?
The roof
Wait, let's
like
go start
layers.
slowly. How many layers was there on the Mishkan? How many coverings did the Mishkan have?
3. Oriselim domem, tachash skin, and the bottom one was goat skin.
That's 3. There's one more. The very bottom layer, I'm sure you all know it because we just had Pashas of Yaakov, Pikudah, and everything else. The bottom layer was made out of 4 different kinds of wool: blue wool, red wool, purple wool, etc., and linen mixed together. That was the bottom one. Rashi Torah says that was called the Mishkan. On top of that, there was the izim. That was made oil izim. It was made out of hair out of a goat. On top of that, there was tachash. There was oiros elim or domim, red skins of rams, and on top of that there was tachash. There are some who say that the 3 and 4 were together as one layer. Now we said that which was put on top of the Mishkan is an oil, is a tent, and therefore it's got the halachas of other oil, which was it's got tumas oilim. So which ingredients have we just said? We said tachash skin going downwards, oiros elim or domim, red skins of an ayil. We said izim. That
have to be red.
No, pashtus not, because the tumor won't be enough if it's red or not. We're talking about which materials. We're talking about the hair of goats, and finally the bottom one, which was 4 kinds of wool and 1 kind of linen, all mixed together. So why does the Gemara over here only learn pishton? The answer is all these materials I just mentioned will all become tomei as tumas oil, meaning if you make a tent out of tachash skin and a dead person goes inside it, will the tent itself require toveling?
No.
Why do you say no? You speak out. No, that says yes, but I was trying to work out. Again.
It's not pishton.
Yeah, we said pishton because pishton's the only, that's what I was trying to explain. Pishton's the only one which the Mishnah says. But the Mishnahs only talk about things that grow from a tree. Pishton is the only one that grows from a tree. But regarding other ones, for example, tachash, oiros elim or domim, izim, techeles, al-gomon, they don't grow from a tree. But of course, they'll have hilchas oil that they will become tomei if you make techeles into a tent and then you put the dead person's dead inside it. Will that techeles tent require toveling? Yes. When the Mishnah just says, only one that comes from a tree, which is metamet tumas oil, is pishton. Because the other ones don't come from a tree. Where do they come from? Animals, skins, hairs, shearings, etc. But from all the things that were used as a covering on the Mishkan, only one thing comes from a tree. That's pishton. And therefore, only one thing coming from a tree will become tomei tumas oil. If just like that, shazuin, they were mixed, they were intertwined, and they were 6 times. How do I try to say the word shazuin? I'm trying to think of a good English word. What's shazuin?
Twisted.
What?
Twisted.
Oh, twisted, sorry. Just if the word twisted, and there were 6 threads, Afghan shazuin, maybe also over here, we're only talking about if it is twisted, shisha, and the 6 times threads. It says oil twice to include Adam oil twice. So everything, including cotton wool. What did Gzer Shava help us? What did they do? And what benefit? What did they benefit us? What did they help us? Just like in the Mishkan, there was beams, wooden beams around, which was part of the Mishkan. Afghan kroshim also wood. So if you make a tent out of wood, if you make a little hut, then the hut itself will have to be tovod. Actually, tovod is wrong. It's not tovod. You'd have to have a zol shlishi v'shvi. You'd have to throw pa'adum on it. It's Afghan kroshim. Omar Krosh says the pasuk, v'osiso kroshim la Mishkan. Make kroshim for the Mishkan. Mishkan koi Mishkan. The Mishkan is called Mishkan. Vein kroshim koi Mishkan, and the kroshim are not. Vein kroshim koi Mishkan, they're not called Mishkan. The Torah says make the kroshim for the Mishkan, meaning that the kroshim is in order that you should then use it for the Mishkan. Therefore, the kroshim is not the Mishkan. The Mishkan is one thing, and the kroshim is something else. And the Ma'ato says more from now. The Torah says you should make a cover for the tent, and that's actually referring to that is the oyos tchoshim. So therefore, that is not called oil because it says "V'osiso michsa lo oil." So the michsa is not considered a tent. Hello, that means the michsa, for example, oyos elim or domim and oyos tchoshim. Oil is not called oil. If you've got a dead, non-kosher animal, let's say you've got a lion, kill it, hunt it, then you skin it, and you take the lion's skin and you make out it a tent. And in the tent you put in a dead person. Will you need to make the dead, will that tent become tummy or not? So Rabbi Loza asked this as a shaila. And we'll see later what the halacha regarding what we push it. Hashta. Now, we just said that oyos elim domim is not metame. Why is it not metame? Because it says v'yosisa michsa lo oil, as for the tent. If oy beimot is metame, oy beimot me boya, would you have a shaila about oy beimot me, would it become tame? Of course not. Would it be a shaila that it should become tummy? Of course not. So Moshe says no. Shani Hossam there it's different. The pasuk returned it. The pasuk that went and returned it. Because it says v'nosu isivirus hamishkan. Here the pasuk lists out the 4 coverings of the mishkan. V'nosu isivirus hamishkan. They should take the curtains of the mishkan. That's the lowest level, which was made out of 4 different materials, 5 different materials all mixed together. There's oil moyed. That is the second cover, which is which one? The izim. Michseyud, its cover, that's the oyos elim or domim. And the tachash which is on top of it. Makish elu in the tachton. We make a hekesh between the upper one and the lower one. Ma tachton ko, makish elu in the tachton. Ma tachton koi oil. Just like the tachton is called oil, meaning, which one's called oil? The ism is called oil. That means because it's called oil, because it's like a tent, a covering for the bottom layer. So the top one's called oil as well. So since the bottom was called oil, the top one's called oil. After elon oil. How do you know it's called oil? From the fact that it's behekesh, it's mentioned together. Since it's called oil, so therefore it's got the halachas of oil, and therefore it will become tummy. So therefore, all 4 levels, all 4 coverings would become tummy. If you use a tent made out of any of these 4, the halacha is that if there's a dead person inside it, you're going to have to tovel the whole tent, not just the things inside the tent. Pishon included, because pishon is one of the ingredients. That everything else that comes out of a tree, for example, cotton wool, etc., or canvas, that will not become. So therefore, that will not become tummy, and since it will not become tummy, so therefore the tent will not become It will not be. It will not because we don't know anywhere that it's called oil, and the Torah says tumas oil only when it's called oil. Gufa boyu abelaza oil behemot tameo ma'oshi tame tumas oil. Can the oil behemot tameo ma'oshi tame tumas oil does become tame as the tent itself tumas oil that should become tame. My komi boyali. What's the shayla? He was asking the following shayla. The tachash that was in the days of Moshe, that's what he was asking. Tome hoyo or toy hoyo? Was the tachash tome or was it toy? If it was tome, and the Torah says it's called oil, so therefore, just like the Torah calls it oil as a cover. So when the Torah says that by Parshas Chukas, that there's such thing as tumas oil, so oil beimot tamei will also become tummy. If the tachash skin was toy, so then you don't know that the Torah says anyway that oil beimot tamei can become tummy. Tummy oil toy hoyo. So that's always a shayla again. Tachash Omar Vada Baba Tachash Mimish Kabule Tummy oil toy hoyo. Omar Vis Mighty Bule Tanina Bava Baisa. What's the shayla we've learned? For HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we only use skins of Beimot Tehora Bilvad. You can't use Tomei skins from Meleches Shomayim. And therefore, the Tachash was definitely Toy. And since the Tachash was Toy, so therefore, because only used from Meleches Shomayim to Beimot Tehora Bilvad, therefore, Oy Beimot Tameo, will it become Tomei in the oil? What's the halacha?
Don't know.
Oh, we don't know, and more likely no, because since in the end of the day, you have nowhere that they use Behemah Tameo as a tent for the Mishkan. So you don't know that it's called a tent. And the Torah says Tumas Oil is interesting, which is called a tent. And this you don't know is called a tent. So Behemah Tameo is not called a tent. So therefore, Pashas Behemah Tameo would not be Tomei. Mosiv Rab Abba. Rab Abba asks a shayla as follows. Yehuda were two coverings. One made out of red skins of rams, and one out of skins of rams which are turned red. Skins of tachash. And the was only one cover. And they look like a tale ilan. Tale ilan is a animal that hangs itself on trees, and it's multicolored. The Gemara understands that when it's like Tole Ilon, but Tole Ilon, Tomehu, and Tole Ilon is a non-kosher animal. So therefore, Tole Ilon is not a Tomehu, is a non-kosher animal. So therefore, how can you say that you can only use toy animals for the base of for the Mishkan? He says clearly that this skin looked like Tole Ilon, and Tole Ilon is Tomei. So Moshe says, it was like a Tole Ilon. It had many colors. But it wasn't really a Tole Ilon. Why? Tomei. That animal is Tomei. There it's Tomei. There it's Tomei and here it's Toy. So therefore, when it says it's like a Tole Ilon, it doesn't mean it was literally a Tole Ilon. It means it looked like a Tole Ilon that had many colors. But there was Tomei Toy and here was Toy. That's if so, meaning and that explains how do you do and that's what the Targum says, Saskoino Shasos, that it rejoices Bigvonim Harbe in its many different colors. That this animal, the Tachash, it rejoices Bigvonim Harbe in the fact that it's got many different colors. So that's why the Targum says Saskoino. The Chatzos explains, if it was really a Tole Ilon, the Targum shouldn't have said Saskoino. The Targum should have said Tole Ilon. The fact that the Targum says Saskoino is to teach you that it's not a Tole Ilon, it's just a Tole, it just looks like Tole Ilon. And as the Targum says, Saskoino Shesos B'Kvonim Harbe, it rejoices in its abundance of colors. Rova Omar, Oy Behemot Tameo, the skin of a non-kosher animal, let's say the skin of a lamb, which you've used it as a tent. The Metame B'Oyel Ames, that becomes Tomei, as a tent of a dead person. We learn from here. The Tanya, it says, Oy, Oy, Be'oy, Ribo. The Torah says Oy, and then the Torah could have said Oy. Instead, the Torah says Oy, Be'oy, in skin. So that teaches Ribo is coming to include that even non-kosher animals, if you make, for example, a handbag out of a crocodile skin, and then it gets soras on it, the halacha will be that it will be tummy. So ribo, sorry, I didn't mean that the whole Bible. It's either oi be'oi, and it says be'oi, we should have said oi. Ribo, it comes to include oi behemot tameo, the skin of a non-kosher animal. The shaloko biad koyin, or if it got soras in the hands of the kohen. The shaloko means it got hit, means it got soras biad kohen in the hand of the kohen. For example, you brought it to the kohen, it didn't have soras. While the kohen was looking at it, it got soras. The shaloko biyad kohen, in the hands of the kohen, it got soras. Shaloko biyad kohen, that is also tummy. Shaloko biyad kohen got soras in the hand of the kohen. And the Brisa carries on. Kotzatz mikulon. Let's say you cut out of all the different ingredients of different materials, but also achas mehen, and you make one clothes out of many different materials. Minayin, how do we know they get soras? Talmud loima, oy b'chol melechas oy. All different materials of oy. The extra word to teach us that oy b'chol melechas oy teaches us that if you've got, let's say, a jacket, and it's a bit of leather, a bit of wool, a bit of something, non-kosher leather, all of it is together, it's a teacher that it will become Tamei with Soras. You can ask the following question. So therefore, since the Torah tells me that regarding Soras, a non-kosher animal, let's say a lion's skin, has Soras, also regarding Tamei Mace, it also becomes Tamei. So if you've got a non-kosher skin, which you're using as a tent, it will become Tamei. You can ask, that by the goyim, even if you've only got threads, they'll come tummy by them, tummy by them. By oil, it has to be a proper tent. So therefore, you can't learn the halachas of Tamei Mace from Tzoras. Because then Shesvev tummy by them, Shesvev is tummy by them, Mashenkein by Tamei Mace, it's not. And look at my Shrotzim. We learn it out from Shrotzim. Why? The Tanya, we learned by Shrotzim oil. I only know the skin of a kosher animal. The skin of a non-kosher animal. Minayin, how do I know that if a dead sheretz touches the skin of a non-kosher animal, how do I know that it becomes tomei? Talmud loima, oi oi. It says oi. The word oi is spare. Since the Torah tells me that from the word oi, that oi oi, the oi teaches me that behemoth tameo is metame b'shrotzim. So who I didn't back to my mace. You can still ask the kasha. Malish shrotzim shkin metame b'chadosho. That's a shrotzim or metame the size of a lentil. Masha'inkein, a mess is how much do you need by a mess to be metame? How much do you need of a dead body?
A finger, we said.
What?
Finger.
Lentil. A lentil.
No, lentil is by shrotzim.
Gris.
Oh, barley.
No, gris is by negoim. Very good. Gris is by negoim.
Barley.
No, by kazai. So
Barley.
mace is a kazai. Shrotzim is adosha, a lentil, and negoim is by a gris. So the Gemara says, how can you say we learn shrotzim from? We learn to make mace from shrotzim. You can't learn. Why not? The metame by a lentil, and since they're only metame by a lentil, which is less than the kazais, so therefore, you can't learn mace from them. So the Gemara says the goyim you don't need the shouts, you need a gris, so they can prove it. They'll prove it. And it goes back and forth. This aspect's not like this aspect. Both are equal. That skin is tummy by them. Meaning that skin, the Torah says the word skin, and the skin is tummy by them. But also, and you made the halach of the skin of a tummy animal, like the skin of a kosher animal. I'll include the tent of a dead person. That I'll be the tent of a dead person. That the halacha is that skin is tummy by it. And we'll do the halachas, and we will say that halacha of beima tahira will be the same as halachas of beima tameo, and we will say that just like beima tahira is tummy, so also beima tameo. So that is how Rava knows that the skin of a non-kosher animal, which is used as a tent, it itself becomes tummy. Why? Because it is. We learn it a mamot sinu from the goyim and from shrotzim. Just like by the goyim and shrotzim, the Torah says skin is tummy, and the Torah says Torah is like tummy is like Torah. Also by Olames, it says Torah is, that the skin is tummy, and we say the same thing that Torah is like Torah. Okay, we'll stop over here. Atzlacha with everything. How's everybody?
What daf is the daf Yomi today officially?
What daf is that for you? Over here.
Is it Chaf Hey?
I was wondering about Erev Pesach. Pesach is going to be quite a difficult day. Today is Parshas.
Oh, we can do a short share.
Today is Daf Chaf Hey. So we're Chavov, Zayin. We're 2.5 ahead. 2.5 ahead. And Pesach this year is, what is it, Friday Shabbos, yes?
Thursday, Friday, Shabbos.
Thursday, Friday.
Thursday, Friday.
3 days, Rabbi Yehuda. In case you didn't know yet.
Why does this calendar not have it? It does. Sorry, it does. Yeah. Oh, so it's 3 days. So we'll lose 3 days and perhaps 4. If Erev Pesach. Hopefully not.
Not 3 though, no, because Motzei Shabbos will be late. You're right. Motzei Shabbos will
be
be
late. Yes.
Maybe we can have an early one, but B'dikas Chametz night before Nacht.
Why? Because you've got nothing else to do?
No, because we've got B'dikas Chametz to do, so we should need, we're going to miss that
the
night.
night of B'dikas Chametz, we're not allowed to have a share this time. You have to have it earlier.
You should have a 5-hour share one day, just cover the whole Yom Tov.
Motzei Shabbos.
You've all slept for 3 days straight anyway, so you'll be fine. You can have a 5-hour share.
Okay, well, that massive B'dikas Chametz night, we're going to have to do a different time. We have to do it in mid-afternoon or something, maybe in the early morning or something. This Friday, what's the matter regarding? Is everybody wants to do it at 8 o'clock?
I've got six people said 8 o'clock, 4 people said 11, but there's got to be more people overall who want to vote, so I'm going to push them again.
I now doesn't make a difference to me what time it is. I can go either now.
Right.
So say 11,
I guess.
What's the 2 times?
8 or 11 on a Friday, maybe.
No, 11, please.
Wow, the 11s are catching up.
So there we go, a 6-all, because Chaim really wants 11.
Chaim, which time do you prefer? It makes no difference.
No difference to me. Whatever.
You said 11. I thought you prefer 11 though.
Just trying to get canvas votes. Very good. Okay, Atzlacha with everything. Right.
Okay.
See you. Bye.
See you all.
See you. Atzlacha.
Bye.
Weiß, wenn die Gebülle bist, dann wenn die Gebülle hast, jetzt passiert mit Canvas, so Packet Canvas. Mit selber geöffnet vom Kotzen. Noch nicht so. אם על אלון שזו אין טוויסטג' זו אין תוג'ובלה